This is Talking Capital Markets, where ideas drive the markets. We move past the headlines and into the heart of the deal, breaking down IPOs, M&A, governance, and the strategies driving real growth in today's capital landscape. No noise, no hype, just conviction, execution, capital in motion. If you're building companies, raising capital, advising boards, or deploying investment, you're not just listening, you're in the room. And now, here are your hosts, Mike Blankenship and Brian Jue.
Thanks for joining Talking Capital Markets with Mike and Brian. I'm Brian Jue and my co-host, Mike Blankenship. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing well today, Brian. Look forward to chatting with you again. A lot going on in the capital markets, so let's get going.
Sounds great. Let's start real quick with why we're doing this. You know, for both of us, we have experience in the trenches, on Wall Street, all kinds of different types of transactions in the capital markets. And we want to share our experience, our knowledge, the wisdom gained with you, our audience, and try to break things down from a point of view of what you need to do, what you're looking for, what to expect in the markets, and so forth. Right, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's important. Education is always important in making sure that, there are a lot of voices out there, lots of disruption, especially when it comes to financial products. So getting information about how your company can go public, how it can maintain being public and continue to go down that route. I think education is the key to being successful, much in the way that their companies, their consumer goods, educate their consumers about what they're selling. Or if you're, working in the business and you're a B2B company, educating the other business why they should go with you. So I think it's important that folks like us, as the advisors, educate and continue to do so.
And I'm glad you brought some of that up about the noise. I mean, and that's a big part of it too, is by doing this and you get to hear our voices and see us talk, you know that you're getting it directly from us and that we're not just typing in a prompt into one of the many AI, chatbots and LLMs out there and saying, what can I say about the capital markets or what can I say about IPOs? And where they're just pulling information from the internet that may or may not be completely accurate for you, your company, and today. But we've actually been there. We're doing it. We have that knowledge. We have that experience. And I think today, in today's day and age of all this AI generated content and everything else out there, us showing that we're real is something that I think we all need more of with everybody that we're dealing with. We want to know, are you dealing with somebody that's real, right?
That's right. I mean, I think you have to understand, a lot of advisors may be driven by the cost and the fees that they're receiving. And so they're really trying to do speed to market. And, speed's not really always good here. I think the real question, if you're not asked, if someone says, how fast do you want to go public? The real question is, are you ready to go public now? And I think part of that's, you and me, Brian, educating them on that. I think you've got sometimes advisors trying to make one size fit all, and that doesn't work. I think you have to look at the options that are out there. And so it's really important to choose the right advisors. I always say a cheap lawyer is an expensive one, because if you're driving it based on costs, and you will inevitably find yourself paying a lot more to fix mistakes. And the same will go trying to get a cheap, fast IPO done without really understanding the advisors and the importance of getting those right advisors done. And I can't emphasize that enough, because you don't want to be public and then all of a sudden circling the drain months later because you went out with the wrong valuation, you had the wrong disclosures, you weren't really thinking about kind of the future there. And I think you and me can hopefully drive some of the conversation that people will open their mind and will start to think about sort of how that they can grow and how they can be better at being a public company.
No, absolutely. And I think back at, my career, and I think back at times where I've always done my best to try to be as forward and upfront with how we see things, what we do, how we get compensated from the beginning. And I've seen often where that's probably lost a transaction because of that, but maybe it wasn't the right transaction anyways. And I think back of, all right, lay everything out, lay out the plan. And they say, no, thank you. It's not the right time for us. We don't want to do that. And then literally, right around the corner, you see them trying to go through the process on their own, taking the strategic plan that we laid out and trying to follow that roadmap, but choosing the wrong people and then coming back to us and saying something like, we need some help here. We file our Form 10 or we file our S1 or whatever piece that they needed to do. We're stuck in a comment period, and then you look at what their advisors put together for them, and you just think like, wow, what were they thinking, right?
And yeah, and I'm thinking, why'd you structure it this way? Why do you have this? Where's the real equity story here? And, how can you be, successful going forward? And you really have to think through that as you're putting S1 together, as you're trying to do a bunch of stuff. Those are all critical pieces to get the job done. And I think making sure you're able to speak to the right audience, making sure you're able to describe business the right way is critical, and being prepared. I mean, I think I can't emphasize enough the preparation. It looks like it's easy, but there is preparation that goes into this. And we've talked about it before where, we're in two hats, you're doing various things and you want to make sure that you're not overlowering the document, you're not overdoing it. You want to make sure it's done right. And I think, you can get the right information out to the public. So that's how I see it. That's how it'll work. I think you hit on the nail on top and like why we want to do what we're doing here. I love what I'm doing. The why I do it is I love the growth that's there. Um, I'm on the corporate side of things. I want to see things kind of grow, and we can be part of that, Brian, and tell that story and be the right advisors. It's more the merrier.
Absolutely, Mike. And you brought this up in one of our other conversations about the creating an opportunity for not just the emerging growth company with some of the IPOs that we're talking about, but also for the potential investors out there as well. We've seen, over the past decade or two, how the markets have changed and how IPOs have become such a unicorn driven tool where really by the time a smaller institution or a smaller investor, they're not going to get to see any bit of that potential excitement of an IPO because it's already been through so many hands and shot way up through the roof. And by the time they can even get any shares, it's super expensive. But with some of the types of transactions that we're talking about, we're actually helping the investor have more opportunity as well. And with the companies, more companies can access capital, investors can find more companies that could be great possibilities. Now the whole system wins. And that's something that I have to agree with you that I'm very, very excited about and all the changes that are happening live in the marketplace as we speak, which is why we're here too, because change does happen much faster these days.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. You'll get more business, more capital into the market, and you make a very good point about the investors because they're the ones fueling a lot of this. So I think they see the story, so you have to make sure they understand that. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Brian.
Mike, well, thanks for another great episode of Talking Capital Markets with Mike and Brian. Join us, subscribe, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you all.